Hi, I'm Jared Fry, General Manager of MedinaTV, and I want to welcome you to this year's edition of Candidates Forum.
Hi, I'm Jacqueline Rinksmeyer, Executive Director of the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce, and we are once again pleased to partner with MedinaTV to bring you this voter education series.
The views expressed by the candidates in these forums are not those of MedinaTV or the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce.
All candidates in contested races were invited to participate. These interviews are meant to be informational without endorsement from MedinaTV or the Greater Medina Chamber of Commerce. Please enjoy this year's Candidates Forum.
Joining us now in studio is Joe Salzgaber for the Office of Medina Municipal Clerk, and welcome, Joe.
Thank you very much.
Glad to have you. You came on board first. You were appointed to the position. Why don't you tell us a little bit how that worked?
Well, I was appointed back in January of this year to the position of Clerk of Court of the Medina Municipal Court, following the voluntary retirement of my predecessor, Nancy Abbott, who had served as clerk for the last 14 years.
Mm-hmm. So being the incumbent here as you head into this race, first let's start off, I kind of jumped ahead of myself. Take a moment, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
My name is Joe Salzgaber. I've lived in Medina County for a little over 25 years now. I moved here when I accepted a position with the Medina County Prosecutor's Office back in 1996, and I've lived here consistently since that time. I was with the Prosecutor's Office until 2003, and then I went into private law practice for myself. In 2015, I was elected Brunswick City Council for Ward 3. I was subsequently appointed County Recorder back in 2019, and I won the election in 2020. And then Nancy Abbott retired, and the Republican Party Central Committee of Medina County saw fit to appoint me to replace her. And I think that was due to my experience having successfully run the Recorder's Office during the COVID year of 2020. We implemented COVID protocols over there, social distancing, barriers, and the like, and that we remained open in order to help the local economy and keep the real estate market running in this county. Mm-hmm. I had 8 employees over there, a budget of approximately $300,000 per year with the county. So moving over to the Medina Municipal Court, it was a somewhat smooth transition for me then. We have at the clerk's office, we have a little over 13 employees, because I have to split the IT person, so I always say 13 plus. Our budget is a little under $1 million per year, and you don't realize how much work goes into it until you're there in that office. But it's been a smooth transition, and we're hoping to emerge from COVID, but hopefully that does happen. Yeah.
Now, why don't you take a second? You kind of mentioned some of the roles and the staff that you have there. Explain what the role is of the Medina Municipal Clerk.
The clerk runs the business office of the court. People are familiar from TV, Judge Judy, Judge Joe, what the court side does, but what the clerk side does is runs the business office of the court. We take in 10,000 traffic and criminal cases a year, roughly 3,500 civil cases. We handle civil cases up to a value of $15,000, and small claims, which is a division of the civil division, is up to $6,000. We have very limited felony jurisdiction. Cases may originate in our court, but once there's a grand jury indictment, then we transfer the case over to common pleas court for the remainder of the case. So there's a lot of record keeping involved. We receive and take in almost $4 million per year in monies. That's court costs, fees, fines, bail monies, and the like. So there's a significant bookkeeping element to the job as well.
What do you see as some of the challenges that the office faces?
I see, well, COVID is an ongoing challenge. Many people were, being processed, and they'd go into the jail with COVID concerns. So a lot of people weren't being put in the jail, was very limited at that time. I see technology as somewhat of a solution to that. We've done with the court video, Zoom type of conferencing for hearings. But we have implemented COVID protocols. My staff is completely behind glass, so they don't deal directly with the public in terms of handshaking or breathing it down anyone's neck. Mm-hmm. But that's basically it.
Yeah. What do you think some of your, if elected for this next term, what are some of the priorities that you'd like to see done?
Well, what we've done recently is we've created a veterans court, a specialized docket in the court called the Valor Court, to deal with veterans, most recently of Iraq and Afghanistan wars, who come back and maybe they have substance abuse issues, maybe they have mental health issues, and we're trying to divert them, as it were, into a program where they can get the help they need through the court system, through the Veterans Administration. I mentioned technology earlier. Another thing we're going to be doing shortly is we're going to upgrade our system so that we can send out text messages to parties in civil cases or in criminal cases, as well as their attorneys, 5 days before any type of hearing takes place. That will reduce any missed hearings, absenteeism. Unfortunately, sometimes we have to issue warrants if people don't show up. So if they have that reminder, that's just less of that happening, much more efficient, much less stressful on all people involved.
Mm-hmm. Now, do you see, you've kind of mentioned a couple times in your answers, of course, the pandemic and things that go along with it, and not necessarily just the people that contract it, but do you see anything with the courts in terms of people financially struggling because of COVID and things that have happened in terms of making restitution, paying fines, things of that nature? Is that something that you see prevalent in the court?
Well, I should back up a little bit. In addition to the civil cases up to $15,000, we also handle eviction matters. So that's really right on point with what's been going on over the last year and a half or so with the eviction moratorium, which has now been lifted. We're seeing an increase in the number of eviction cases being filed and processed at this point. That's been a serious issue.
Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of the office itself, what do you feel are traits that you have that may differ from your opponent that make you the ideal candidate for the position?
Well, what I bring to the office is experience having practiced in that court, the Medina Municipal Court, as both a felony prosecutor handling those felony cases I told you we had limited jurisdiction over, and as a municipal prosecutor handling traffic and misdemeanor cases. I spent quite a deal of time practicing law in that court on the prosecution side and then on the defense side, both in civil and criminal cases. And then having served as a recorder, I have the administrative experience to run the office. And I think that's what distinguishes me from my opponent, who is primarily an accounting background. Not that that's unimportant, but that's not the entirety of what the court does, is process fees. I do have a good bookkeeper, Michelle Sloan, who helps us out with that.
And now in terms of relationships, because of course you deal with the financial side of the court, as you mentioned, but there's also the judicial side of the court, and you also have people that come through the door that are probably having the worst day of their life. How do you handle those relationships with people that might be controversial, or just working relationship professionally with the judge if maybe you guys have disagreements on issues?
Well, our chief probation officer likes to joke that municipal court is where the sinners go, and felony court is where the really evil people go. So we're not necessarily about jailing people. It's a large part of the docket is traffic. So you pay your fine and court costs and go on your way in most cases. Mm-hmm. So that's a little different than in the felony realm. Getting along with the judge is, frankly, I shouldn't say this, he's a nice guy. We actually ran against one another back in 2017, and he won the primary, and I was so impressed by him that I did endorse him for the fall election. And then I ended up as his clerk, so I'm glad that we had an amicable race back in 2017.
We're speaking with Joe Salzgaber, one of the candidates, the incumbent, as a matter of fact, for the Medina Municipal Clerk position. And Joe, I appreciate you taking the time and answering all the questions I had, but I want to make sure I give you a moment in case there's something I may have missed or just something you would like to tell the voters directly. I want to give you the microphone and give you that time now.
Thank you. I'd like to ask the voters for their support in the upcoming election. I believe that I have the experience and background necessary to do a good job running your municipal clerk of your municipal court's office. I'm endorsed by my predecessor, Nancy Abbott, by County Clerk of Courts David Wadsworth, as well as by current Sheriff Terry Grice and past Sheriff Tom Miller, among others. So I ask for your support on November 2nd, and thank you for the interview.
Yeah, and thank you for taking part in the political process. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank all those that run for any type of office for putting yourself out there. It's sometimes a thankless job, and definitely want to thank you for putting your hat in the arena and wish you the best of luck this November.
Thank you.